Good evening, everyone. The meeting of the Monroe Township Board of Education will come to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Really? Mr. Gorski, may we please have a roll call?
Certainly. Mrs. Arminio. Mrs. DeMayo.
Yes.
Mrs. Koloponowicz.
Yes.
Mrs. Lang.
Yes.
Mr. Masters.
Here.
Mr. Peluri.
Here.
Mr. Ryback.
Here.
Mrs. Siegel.
Here.
Mr. Tefano.
Here.
Mr. Rutsky.
Here.
Madam Board President, you have a quorum present this evening.
Thank you.
In accordance with the provisions of the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law, the Monroe Township Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published by having the date, time, and place thereof posted November 15th, 2019 at all schools, the Home News Tribune, the Cranberry Press, and filed with the clerk of the municipality.
Thank you. Before we get to the approval of the minutes, I would just like to congratulate Ms. Arminio and Mr. Chiarella on their re-election to the Board of Education and welcome Mr. Nikotinsky to the board. We look forward to working with each of you on making sure that our students continue to get the best education possible. So at this time, we'll go to the approval of the minutes for the special Public Board of Education meeting of October 3rd, 2019.
So moved.
Mrs. Lang, Mr. Pelori, any additions or corrections to the minutes? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain or recuse? Seeing none, we will have the approval of the minutes for the closed session meeting of October 3rd, 2019.
So moved.
So moved by Mr. Ryback, second by Mrs. Lang. Again, any additions or corrections to the minutes? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain or recuse? Okay, then the minutes have been passed. You normally have our student board members' reports at this time, but they do not seem to be here. They are probably involved in their numerous activities as students. So we will go to our presentations, and the first one will be for the Unified Program, and I'm going to turn the meeting over to Dr. Alvick.
Good evening, everyone. I'm very excited to have our Falcon Pals and Unified Program from our Monroe Township High School here with us this evening. They have been recognized by the Special Olympics of New Jersey as a certified unified program. And last month, I was excited to go with them and present to many school districts from the state of New Jersey on our unified program. We were invited to be the group, a panel during the lunchtime of a full day of the Change the Game conference. So it was very exciting. I got to present with the students and with Ms. Dillon, Mrs. Ruella, Mrs. Hines, and we were able to talk about all of the great things that we're doing for our students. And then again, this past Saturday, we were down in Asbury Park, where many of the students and staff members took the plunge and did the polar plunge. It was very cold on Saturday, and to raise money for Special Olympics of New Jersey. But they're here this evening to kind of share with you some of the great things great things that are happening with our program. So, Mrs. Dillon and her students. Boris has a mic for you. Boris has a mic.
We are here today to basically express our thanks and appreciation to the board for their support of our programs. Like Dr. Alvick had mentioned, we are a unified champion school. We were the #1 school in New Jersey last year, and we are the model district for the Special Olympics of New Jersey. They use our programs they use our programs for other school districts. In fact, tomorrow we actually have a school district coming to visit us during our phys ed classes to see how we operate and what we actually do. We have a very unique program in our community-based fitness program where we have our 18 to 21-year-old students in a unified class. And on Tuesdays and Thursdays, we go out into the community. Tuesdays, we go down to the elementary schools. And our students, our unified students, with and without intellectual disabilities, mentor their younger counterparts. And it's a great experience for all. And then on Thursdays, our community-based fitness class goes out to like different fitness type activities, such as yoga. We go golfing. We go to Jersey Strong Gym, all which is donated through the community. So the Township of Monroe is in full support of our programs as well, and that's what we are very thankful for. Today, I'm not going to do all the talking because I talk so much, okay? I figured I'd turn it over to the people that actually are involved in the program. They are the ones that experience it, and they're going to share with you what they do and what they are gaining from being in the program. Okay, so we're going to let Justin Marcello speak first. Okay.
Good evening. Good evening, everyone. I wrote my speech because it's going to be a long one, and I hope you like it. My name is Justin Marcello, and I am part of the MTHS Unified Program. I have lots of fun with all the activities. I like Project Fun, Up Fitness, Zumba with Mr. Comey, and all the sports we do like soccer, basketball, bowling, and track. Oh, I have it on my varsity jacket. Look, everybody, look, look. I also love doing CBF. Oh, hold on. I also love doing CBF, and when we eat out at different restaurants like Perkins, Comfy, and Americana Diner. I also enjoy working at LL Bean. To all of my Falcon pals, thank you for being my friend. To my teachers, Ms. Dillon, Mr. Shanfield, and Mr. Osner. Thank you for helping me. To Dr. Alvich and the members of the Board of Education. Please continue to support us. Thank you for listening. And one last thing, let's give everyone a round of applause, and God bless you all!
Very well done, Justin. Thank you. He's going to take a selfie with you. Justin is our spokesperson. Can you tell?
Nice.
And now we have Lauren Roble, who is actually the president of our Project Fun Club, which is a unified club we run after school. She's also very involved in our in-school programs. She's a part of our unified physical education classes, unified electives, and Up Fitness, unified soccer. She's all about it. So she has a lot to say.
Hi, everyone. I'm Lauren. So I've been a part of these programs for 4 years of the high school, and it really changed me, and I've been...
Get closer to the mic, honey.
Sorry.
There you go.
So I'm just going to give you like a brief rundown of all the stuff that we do. So one of our mottos for the school is saying that it's not us and them, it's we, because it's important that to know that we're all students, and it's not fair for some students to teach other students just because they have disabilities, because we're all the same. And some of our unified goals is that, some of our unified goals are listed on the screen. And another thing that we like to say is that everybody is uniquely the same, because everybody is human, but everybody has different strengths, weaknesses, and personalities that makes us different. And so one of the programs that I'm in is a Falcons Pals class, and this is our gym class. And PAL stands for Peers Leadership Skills. And we actually have 2 classes because there's so many people who want to be involved. And another gym class that we have, as Ms. Dill mentioned earlier, was a CBF, which is for the 18 to 21-year-old population. And in this class, we work together to do team building, social, and physical skills. So Falcon Pals is for the seniors, and we play all different kinds of games. We do like bowling, we've played soccer, and we also use our iPads in this class so we can get everybody acclimated to the different technologies that they can use once they graduate. And in this class, we're put into groups of like 2 or 3, and we all work together. And up there on the screen is a few activities that we do, such as hiking, bowling, basketball, and a list of other stuff that we do. We do so much stuff, and it's a lot of fun. And this is actually counts as our gym class. So the marking period that we go to health is when the juniors come in, and they get to start the program a little bit earlier, so to make sure they really enjoy it, so they can continue it for the senior year. Yeah, and I was also a junior PAL, and I loved it, so I continued. So our CBF program is very involved with the idea of independent learning in the community. So for this, the seniors are in a senior option class where they stay after school on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So on Tuesdays, we go into our UP leadership, and then on Thursdays, we go into the community, and we do different activities. And the facilities that we go to, they donate their time, their trainers, they donate all this stuff, so we have the opportunity to do different activities. And some other stuff that we do is golf, we do yoga on the beach, we go bowling, and that's just a few of the things that we do, and the other ones are listed on the screen. And we also go on trips, such as we go horseback riding, we do yoga on the beach, we host a social, we go pumpkin picking. So we do a lot of trips within the program, which is a lot of fun. And this is just more trips that we go on. And we also have 2 clubs after school. So Project Fund is the first one, which I am one of the presidents of. And in this club, we do different activities such as we do arts and crafts, we play kickball, we do fundraising, and we also participate in the haunted high school that we have at the school. And in our club, that's where we create all the games, and we decided on our theme, which we did Disney this year. And those on the screen is some activities and pictures from our club. And we also have UP Partnership or UP Fitness, which rotates every single Thursday between yoga, strength training, and Zumba. And we have a Falcons Palette and a Winterfest, so where the parents and either high school students, we have one for the high school students, and we have one for the elementary students. So our parents come and we do a painting activity together. And then our Winterfest is where some of the high school students go down to the elementary grades and we do arts and crafts with them. And then, so some more things we do sports-wise is UP Dance. So our students with ID are paired up with somebody in our dance team at the high school, and they practice together, and they also perform at the basketball games together. And we are very lucky to have many sports. So we have Special Olympics bowling, we have unified soccer, unified basketball, and unified track and fields. And these programs keep getting bigger and bigger each year. So this is our unified bowling team, and we actually host a day where we play Metuchen. So it's Monroe versus Metuchen for bowling. And our unified soccer, we actually had the opportunity to sign with the Red Bulls last year. So we got jerseys, we got tracksuits, and a few of us flew out to Kansas City and we played a game. And the next one is unified basketball, and we actually won the state championship in the Group B division last year.
Another thing that's cool about this is, if you notice, we have a banner there for winning a state championship. That's the first unified state championship banner. Okay, and our district actually is so supportive of us that we got everything that every other team got. Okay, we get uniforms, we get a banner, we get rings, just like every other team in this district. So we are equal. Okay.
Yeah, but that's good. This is our track team, just more pictures. A program we actually started last year, which is a lot of fun, is UP Leadership. So our CBF class and a few student leaders go down to the elementary grades into their unified programs, and we work on social and physical skills. So we talk about friendship, and we also play games.
We received a $13,000 grant from the Special Olympics, and with that grant money, we are going to be funding a variety of activities and things for students across the district. Tomorrow, we're getting a shipment in of something called Strider bikes, which are balance bikes, and basically what they are is for younger students to learn how to ride a bike. core strength, balance, agility, and we can actually have them progress onto a pedal bike. All right, so all of our younger students that we work with in the partnership program will be enjoying those bikes starting tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry.
Okay. All right. I think we're about wrapping it up. These are our students. They are participants in a variety of the activities throughout our district as far as the unified programs are concerned. If anyone ever has any questions regarding unified programs, please feel free to reach out to me or to any of our students, and they'd be very happy to explain to you what we're about. Thank you so much for your attention.
I'd like to thank you for coming today and telling us a little bit about your award-winning unified program. I am very, very proud of where we've come and how this board has been supporting you for all these years, and we look forward to supporting you for many more. I'd also like to personally thank Mrs. Dillon, because without her, this program would not be the same. And she doesn't get the recognition that she deserves. So thank you very much. This is just a very awesome program. So at this time, we have another presentation, and I will turn the floor over to Dr. Lehman.
So at this time, I'd like to invite Ms. Papandrea and Ms. Pandolfi's class up. They're teachers and students from Mill Lake School. So as they're coming up, this year, the class spent time in November creating a presentation and a dedication in honor of the veterans of American Legion Post 522. This year, all Mill Lake students were invited to create posters, cards, and sentiments for all the veterans of Post 522. The students' presentation includes songs, poetry, facts about veterans and Veterans Day, and culminated in a bagel breakfast where the students spent quality time with the veterans of American Legion 522. The veterans shared their experiences serving in the United States, taught the students how to fold the American flag properly, played the bugle, and answered all of the students' questions. Their time spent together was filled with patriotism and pride. So, Ms. Pandolfi, Ms. Papandrea.
On November 15th, we celebrated Veterans Day by honoring the veterans of Post 522. The veterans came and we shared songs, poems, and thankful thoughts for them. We made a thankful wall of cards, and the student at Mill Lake School made a card for a veteran's poem, Post 522. We love spending time with the veterans of Post 522. They taught us what the American flag stands for and how to fold it. Dr. Layton, we also made some special cards for you. Please enjoy our video. is held in honor of those who served in the United States Armed Forces. The United States Armed Forces is made up of the Air Force, Army, Marines, Navy, and the Coast Guard. Veterans Day is a time for us to pay our respects to those who have served. Veterans Day is celebrated on November 11th because in 1918 a temporary peace was signed and the fighting during World War I ended. 1 year later, President Woodrow Wilson said that November 11th will be called Armistice Day. In 1938, Armistice Day becomes a federal holiday. It was a day dedicated to peace and held in honor of the veterans of World War I. In 1954, President Eisenhower changed November 11th to Veterans Day in order to represent all veterans from all wars. We respect the veterans by learning about what it means to be a veteran and spending time with Monroe Township veterans.
Very good.
Many
Thank you for bringing this program to us today and teaching us a little bit about Veterans Day. I'm sure the veterans who came to your class were very happy to have that you had them there, and I'm sure it was an awesome day for everybody. So thank you for coming here tonight.
Thank you. You did a great job.
Okay, at this time, we will go to committee reports. Are there any committees that need to report this evening?
Madam President.
Ms. Arminio?
Before we begin, I would just like to apologize to the audience for my delaying in getting here. I wasn't sure I'd even make it today. I spent, unfortunately, most of the day in the University of Pennsylvania Medical Center with my husband, who needs a procedure, and he happens to be a veteran. So I'm sorry for being late, but I wasn't even sure I'd make it at all, and hopefully he'll be fine. So thank you very much.
Ms. Arminio, your family always comes first, and you need to do what you need to do, and we all understand that.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you. So committee reports, I'll start with Ms. DeMeo.
Yep.
We had a curriculum committee meeting tonight. We first reviewed two history curriculum. The first one was World Honors History. This World History presents a panorama of people and their development, and this curriculum is designed to acquaint students with pertinent world events that will further enhance their global perspective and enable them to see human development in a different light. This curriculum teaches a variety Teachers use a variety of teaching techniques and instructional material that enables students to analyze the broad historical forces that are at work in shaping the world of the 21st century. And what this course really does is the students look at current events and they tie that into the history curriculum. Themes such as human rights, religions, violence in society, global conflict, and cooperation that have shaped our contemporary world, interdependence, world culture, regions, characteristics of a culture, cultural diversity, environmental concern, the relationship between geography and society, and the role of the arts in human development are studied along with other issues which are all state mandated. The second history curriculum we talked about was American Image on Field. This is a study in American history and culture. It's a half-year course. The other half is a civics course, and they pair very nicely. This class uses films that reflect the issues of the day. Students discern how film mirrors issues such as social justice, traditional American values, and the complex and often contradictory social, political, scientific, and economic development in American society. It starts off in the 20s, and they watch such movies as The Kid, Mildred Pierce, Gentleman's Agreement, The Best Years of Our Lives. 1950s is Stalag 17. 1967, they watch In the Heat of the Night, Cool Hand Luke, Bonnie and Clyde. 1970 is Norma Ray. 1980s is The Breakfast Club, Philadelphia, and Forrest Gump. We also reviewed, Math for Real Life. It's a fourth-year senior option for students who need another math class, and basically it teaches them how to use math in day-to-day activities, such as going to the store and using money, and it helps prep kids for college placement. In addition, we reviewed some clubs. Every year, Mr. Colella, our co-curricular, our vice principal in charge of co-curriculars, reviews the clubs. And he looks at attendance, and he determines which clubs don't have enough attendance to sustain them from year to year. And they're not quick to get rid of clubs. They really try to, if they see a club is losing student participation, they really put some effort in place to get more student involved in the club. But eventually, there are clubs that they have to cancel. So over the past 2 years, they've canceled 2 clubs, and they brought 6, I'm sorry. 2 years, 6 clubs, yes. And so this year they brought us 2 new clubs. They're service clubs. The first one is the Patriot Warrior Club. This club will function primarily as a fundraising and community service-centered extracurricular organization. Every year, the club will pick a nonprofit organization that assists veterans to partner with and assist that organization in its fundraising endeavors. The club will also provide an outlet to students who are interested in joining the armed forces in the future. The second club is the Interactive Club. The Interactive Club are student branches of local Rotary clubs throughout the U.S. There are over 20,000 interactive clubs, including chapters at both North and South Brunswick High School. The mission of this club is to bring together students to develop their leadership skills while discovering the power of service above self. The proposed high school chapter specifically plans to focus on bringing typical students and students with special needs together to participate in projects to help the community. We also, and the other thing is there was a club name change. They changed the Jazz Dance Club to the Monroe Township High School Dance Team because they really do more than just jazz dance. We also made some changes to our some of our music classes. So the treble choir, the advanced percussion ensemble, and Project Lead the Way engineering design and development capstone course have all been deemed honors courses, and students will get honor credits for taking these courses. All the students at the Monroe Township High School will be eligible for the wind ensemble and honors percussion ensemble. These are classes that students have to try out for, but they are honor level classes. We also reviewed a special education program. In February of 2000, this is the least restrictive environment settlement. So 78 districts in the state were identified through using NJ SMART to determine whether they are following the least restrictive environment requirement in preschoolers. Monroe was identified that we had a high rate of preschoolers with IEPs that are being educated in a separate setting rather than in a mix with gen ed students. We spent a couple years working on getting more gen ed students integrated with our preschools. And so for it to be an integrated preschool program class, the class would have 8 special ed students to 9 general ed students. So we worked on getting more general ed students involved in our preschool. We completed all phases of the assessment from monitoring and training from 2014 to 2019, and we have shown tremendous growth, and the district is compliant with all monitoring areas and findings, and we're currently awaiting a letter from the DOE that we are in compliance and the settlement is closed. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other committee meetings? Mr. Tefano?
Madam President, may I ask a question?
Oh, absolutely. I'm sorry.
Thank you. You mentioned about an interactive club, and it's going to include leadership and unified programs. We already have clubs for that. In light of closing clubs where they're not active, why start brand new 2 clubs?
Well, that was asked at the committee meeting also, and it turns out, I mean, these are service clubs. We only have one other service club, the Key Club. And
Right.
So it wasn't, we're not, I think can you speak more to it? Because I know the Key Club is a very popular club.
Yes.
So it's basically these two clubs will build capacity. We oftentimes are reached out by the community for support in terms of community service hours. So this broadens the range of students that we have that we can present to support opportunities, in the community. So this is just building capacity. This is driven off a student need. It kind of is a different niche than a Key Club. And the clubs that were phased out, again, it's a typical cycle as we take students and they go through their four years here. There may be an interest in a writing club or something like that, but if those students kind of phase out and they graduate and the students don't kind of fill that void, we phase those clubs out and we bring new ones in.
Yeah, my concern is that we don't want to undermine the Key Club and the others that are being very active and productive.
Yep.
By creating more and more layers of it.
Yep, and that's what we did. We talked about saturation.
Okay.
Yep, and are we saturated in terms of our service club? And at this point, the analysis is we actually could use some more service clubs to help support our needs.
Ms. Arminio?
Yes, could you have Mr. Lehman, Dr. Lehman, excuse me, could you explain capacity, building capacity? That phrase?
Building capacity, I referenced that in terms of more students give us more people to send out into the community to help whatever our community needs.
So that's what you're saying the club is for, really, to have more students do community
Yep.
services?
And they're asking for it. So
The community is asking for it. Can
The
you give us
communi-
an example of what the community's looking for?
we didn't talk specifics in the meeting. I can't think of anything. But when we, there's a group of students, when we have actually the names of there's probably 30 or 40 students that are interested in participating in these two clubs, and they're different students than are in the Key Club. So the students are saying, we want more, we want to help out, and Dr. Colella has been analyzing, and he gets reached out by, because of the OHM Foundation, that's one specific opportunity.
The Foundation has reached out, and our students have gone and helped them with their, any of the walk that they do every spring, that type of thing.
Okay.
So it's different foundations in our community that ask for volunteers.
Because I've spoken to some members of the community, and they had, from what I understand, it was a service-type club that was refused. So I think I'll ask them to reach out again and see if that club will fit the bill, if you're saying you need more capacity.
Yeah, and
for
it's something
these
he'll
kind
do
of
an
students.
analysis, and we'll figure out,
Okay.
if we need to continue to
Great.
build, or if there was enough interest in general in that, because there is a set of criteria in terms of moving forward through the process.
And also, I attended the workshop at school boards, and Sustainable New Jersey has grants for students so it may go all the way across different clubs, so I would encourage the administration to take a look at, or the people involved in the clubs, to see if some of the Sustainable New Jersey grants would actually work for their clubs.
Great, thank you.
They're looking to spend the money, so, thanks.
Oh, a question? Okay,
Just a
Mr.
question.
Ryback?
I believe when students join service clubs, doesn't that help them in their college applications? I think colleges look for that,
Absolutely.
along with a lot of other things, but it certainly helps.
Community service hours.
Service.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mr. Tefano?
Yes, on November 12th, we had a Buildings, Ground, and Transportation meeting to discuss Eagle River Day Camps, hopefully program expansion. As directed by the committee, administration prepared outlines, including floor plan schematics for the Special Services office space currently leased at Monroe Commons and the Falcon Care Early Childhood Enrichment Program, ECE. The developer of the Eagle River Day Camp property and committee members asked administration questions regarding the programs, staffing needs, and the thoughts on future growth and expansion. The developer will review this data and prepare a proposal for how he thinks he could develop the Eagle River Day Camp property to meet the committee's needs. Excuse me. Post-meeting discussion, the committee requested that the administration investigate the practice of our school buses exiting school property in succession onto township roads, thereby temporarily blocking traffic. Administration was requested to call the county engineer's office in an effort to expedite the processing of a flashing traffic safety signs project that we explore options for slowing traffic on the high school parking lot. maybe a grooved pavement or speed humps or something along those lines. So we'll hope they'll get back to us as soon as possible. That's all I got.
Okay, anyone else? Mrs. Lang?
Okay, so the policy committee met last week, and tonight we're presenting one policy that for reaffirmation, 11 policies for a first read, 10 of them are mandated, and 3 will be presented for their second read. 2 of the bigger policies that are up for mandated and that we're going to be passing tonight, one is our school district tobacco use policy and vaping. So it is policy 5533. And I want to just really thank Ms. Maloney, who is our student assistance counselor, Mr. Higgins, the middle school vice principal, Dr. Colella and Dr. Higgins, both vice principals at the high school, who worked really hard. We developed a policy with the help of our board attorney, Mary Smith, and Dr. Alvick, that really listened to what they were asking for the policy to state as the administrators of the schools. And for those people who think that vaping isn't a big deal, if you're following it in the news, you find out that it really is a very big deal. So the first policy, 5533, is handling vaping by students on the school grounds. And like I said earlier, and there is a big part of education that's been added to it. No disciplinary action has been taken away from it. It's actually stronger disciplinary-wise. And 7434 is tobacco use on school grounds by other people. So that's being presented tonight for the first read. We also have a policy on earned sick leave, and just so people understand that covers people who are not under contract. And then the last one that I did want to bring up and talk about was policy 9160, which was the public attendance at school events. That was sent back, and the wording was changed so that it now says the Board of Education and/or district administration is going to be handling people who are disruptive or if they're welcoming. So that was changed so that was clearer. And just there was a question about the interpretation of wording. And the following rules apply according to our bylaws and policies in our introduction, that wherever possible, language shall be given in its clear and ordinary interpretation. So whatever wording we have in our policies is the wording, that's the way it's supposed to be interpreted. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Madam President.
Mr. Polari?
Quickly, I just want to wish Mr. Arminio a speedy recovery and hope all goes well.
Thank you.
The Education Advocacy Committee met on November 14th. As some of you may recall, that we actually engaged a law firm to see the possibility of suing the state. They did submit a draft report on that day, and we did not get a chance to completely review and digest the information, but we'll certainly be discussing in the closed session today, and we requested the law firm representative to come in and actually present it to our public during the December meeting. Also, Dr. Replet, who's the Commissioner of Department of Education, is visiting our district on December 16th. A lot of anticipation. I think a tour is being planned for Applegarth Road, Applegarth School, and hopefully we get some interest in terms of additional funding from the state on that. I just want to give a shout out to Jerry Tague. One of the residents called me to complain that the roof at Applegarth School was out of place or is coming off during one of the storms. And it was quickly fixed on October 25th. So I want to just give a shout out for the good work they do. Thank you. That's all I have.
Okay, anyone else?
I think finance.
Okay, Mr. Rutsky.
Good evening, everybody. So at the Finance Committee meeting, we first had an audit update. Mr. Gorski provided an audit update informing the committee that the state of New Jersey has finally released their post-retirement health benefit liabilities, as well as teachers' pension and annuity fund pension liabilities, which last year were delayed and caused us some extra work. So this year, everything's on time. Some district-specific information should be released to auditors within a week. Although these liabilities will likely never be realized by the district, they are required disclosure in the financial statements. The auditor is materially finished with the audit, with the exception of drafting the reports, completing the audit of fixed assets, completing testing for Falcon Care and ECE funds, auditing the cafeteria fund, and subsequent event testing. We expect Mr. Stankiewicz to present the results of the audit to the Finance Committee at our next meeting, and then to the full board on December 18th. We then went on to a budget update, and where that stands is the budget defense rounds have been scheduled and actually began this past Monday. Principals were directed to prepare budgets in accordance with the board's budget philosophy directives. Mr. Gorski and Dr. Alvick completed and submitted the required budget efficiency worksheets, and Mr. Gorski and Ms. Tagliaferro are drafting the budget timeline, which will also be presented at the December 18th board meeting. It is state reporting season, so there's a lot going on with our BA's office with regards to getting all these prepared or waiting for these reports to come in. So I'm going to throw a bunch of acronyms out there. So there's the ASSA, Application for State School Aid. There's the DRTRS, which is the District Report of Transported Resident Students. There's the Debt Service Report, and all IDEA and ESEA final reports from year-end June 30th, 2019 have been submitted as required. Thank you, Michael. Nice job.
Thank you. Anyone else? Mr. Masters?
Thank you. We had an ad hoc meeting on November 13th last week. Thank you for everyone for coming out. It was a very cold night. We've taken the feedback, distributed to the team, many pages of feedback distributed to the team. Dr. Lehman's going to aggregate it for us and present it at our next, before our next December 9th meeting. That is the next ad hoc meeting. If you want to come out December 9th, we're going to be reviewing the feedback.
Thank you. Any other reports?
May I ask Mrs.
Sure.
Lang something on the use of school facilities, the regulation 7510?
Yes.
When you're ready.
I don't know if I have it here.
Oh, okay, well, it was in, okay. Well, it talks about, if I may, it talks about the use must not involve gambling or games of chance. For purposes of this regulation, the terms gambling and games of chance shall not include the following. And there's a list of that. I see it, so it seems to me that we're not supposed to have gambling in the schools, and yet there are games of chance, 50-50 raffles. How do we distinguish between what's actually gambling and what's not? Is there a legal list of things that would be considered, like if someone wanted to have a casino night?
I can answer that.
Good.
Yes, because
Great.
they were actually, the regulation is set by the district, by the administration. And it was a meeting that was held with Mr. Goodall and the heads of the PTOs, PTAs, and they came up with a list, and our board attorney, Mary Smith, was also there, and there was a long discussion about what constitutes gambling and what constitutes game of chance. And that list that you see there was what the administration said that they were comfortable with allowing as games of chance, and they are legal according to the advice given by our board attorney. So that's the regulation, which is the responsibility of the administration.
Okay, and so something like a casino night would be deemed actual gambling?
Yes.
And would not be allowed?
Yes.
Okay, so if an organization, a parent organization, comes up with something that is not really on the list, can they come to the board and ask us to consider it, and then we would present it to the policy?
Actually, it would go to the superintendent of schools. It's at the discretion of the superintendent of schools. That's what the regulation and policy
So would that
states.
be the chain of command? It would go to
Yes.
those people? Should they go to their building supervisor first, or just directly to the
They
superintendent?
would go right to the superintendent. They bring their,
There's a process for anyone who utilizes our buildings.
Right.
And through that process, that's how I would be notified. It would be included in their request for use of buildings.
Well, I would think that if someone, before they even wanted to do that.
A lot of times they do reach out to me directly.
Okay, and that would be the procedure. Okay, and then on and I don't know if it's in school district security for 7440, but I read it in the past, and I'm sorry I can't put my finger on it, where it talks about, is it at the board's discretion to remove someone who they deem disruptive out of any event in the?
It's actually the discretion of the Board of Education, the administration, which is an arm of the Board of Education working on behalf of the Board of Education. So that's why on 9160, public attendance at school events, which talks
That's
about
it.
that, it says that now it's going to read that the Board of Education and/or district administration may bar the attendance of any person at a school event whose conduct constitutes a disruption.
Okay, I would just say that and I think I've mentioned this before, I think that language is too arbitrary, and it could lead to abuse. I'm not saying it will, but I'm saying it concerns me that anybody in this community would be removed from an event. I think it would have to be really egregious, not to say I don't believe in security and everyone's, has a right, the whole community has a right to be secure from somebody, but somebody who's disruptive may just be someone who has an argument with another person or has a small disagreement, and I don't want to raise the level of a disagreement or a parent, maybe screaming loudly at a sports event to be deemed disruptive because somebody else might not like it. I think we should be very judicious about how we use that sort of thing. So I'm concerned about the language being very vague and arbitrary.
And I think from when Mrs. Smith, when we had met at the pre-policy meeting so that we could get the policies together, said that it actually needs to be more on the vague side because in different situations, the administration is different. So if you were to outline exactly where we as board members are at events, so we're not going to be doing it. Why it says the Board of Education, if a complaint ever came and a Board of Education had to do if there was a hearing in front of the board, it would be the board's final decision, but it's really district administration. So it would have to be left up to, and district administration, from what I understood, implies it also covers security. If security sees it as a risk, if a parent threatens another parent or a child, that's disruptive, and that person should be asked to leave, and that's the judgment of the administration that's there. So we're going to be leaving the wording more vague because it needs to stay vague to keep it open to cover all the people that need to be covered.
Well, I would agree, and you use the word threat, and that would certainly be something that we would take very, very seriously, any type of threat. But I have seen people asked to leave or removed or sort of pushed off pushed off a circumstance just for raising their voice. So I'm very concerned about the public, free speech, even if it's loud. But certainly a threat, I would agree, somebody should be removed. I just think we have to be really careful about that. Thanks.
I would like to comment on it, Madam President. I think the people who are being trained and certified in security, such as Pete Piero and his group, can certainly make the decision what they deem as disruptive. I agree with Patty's assessment that probably the language has to be a little vague just to make sure, because not the same condition can apply to everybody in general. But that's very typical in any law enforcement that the security takes.
That they have that they're looking at. But it went through the board attorney, it went through the superintendent. Did it go through the security people?
Yes.
So everybody had their hand in that policy to make sure that it was done the way it should be done.
Right.
Okay.
I also think that
Mr. Mayo?
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Thank you. I also think it needs to be vague because a situation between two adults may seem not that big of a deal, but when you put that situation in front of children, it may be more damaging than you think. And I think the administration, who knows appropriate childhood development and what children can tolerate at certain ages, really use that to determine whether a situation could be harmful to children.
Well, I also think physically removing a parent is also harmful to children, too, if they see that.
But I think that the administration will know how to handle the situation and will take appropriate measures or not take appropriate measures as they deem fit.
And you sometimes don't think about everything that could possibly happen, that might happen, and if it's not written down, and then you can't handle it, but that's why we need to keep certain things vague so that you never know what situation could arise, so. Mr. Rutsky.
If I may, since we're staying on policy, and we're back to policy, I just wanted to ask on the vaping policy, the second part of it where you talked about other people's use of vaping products, is that with regards to teachers during the course of a regular day, or is that at sporting events or
That
the
it
like?
actually applies to anybody on school grounds. So it could be the
At any
FedEx
time.
person who is on school grounds. It could be a parent at a sporting event that is on school. It could be a teacher. It applies to anybody on school grounds.
Excellent, great, thank you.
Mr. Ryback.
Ms. Lang, I have a question. You mentioned school grounds. It's a big topic. If we're having a sporting event and it's not on school grounds, it's a different school, I realize it's school grounds, would those policies still apply? I mean, I know when you're at a school event, it's considered school grounds. I just want to make sure that's clarified.
Right, and it is. Actually, any other school district would have their own policy, so it would include on that. But our school grounds would be like the bench where our kids are sitting. You know, the areas that our students are in is their school grounds. So it could be the school bus transporting them back and forth. So you don't want your bus driver to
No,
start vaping
I just
or
wanted-
somebody.
I just
yeah.
wanted to clarify that,
No,
yeah.
it's all good.
Okay, are we finished with committee reports?
Thank you.
Okay, so then we will go to public forum. Anyone from the public wishing to speak to the agenda, please come to the microphone, state your name and address for the record. We will limit you to the 4-minute time limit, and when the timer goes off, your turn is over, and you can only come up once during a public forum.
Good evening, Prakash Parab, 33 Dana Drive. So just I came to today and looked at the enrollments, which is in the agenda here, page 3, and you are projected from how many students we had in 2015 and what we have today. And if you look at total school, we have added only 404 students, entire school district, 8 schools, only 404 students in last 5 to 6 years, 5 years. So now we are projecting another 1,500 students in next 6 to 7 years. So this is just a remark. Just take into consideration whether our projections, again, you know, I'm questioning about the projections, okay? And if you look at the high school in last 5 years, we added 295. I know that high school's capacity is 1,800. So we want to have high school to 2,800. So this projection for middle school, we have surprisingly, these numbers are surprising to me that in last 5 years for middle school, we added only 150, 1774 minus 1624. So just look at these projections from the past. And what we do is sometimes, I'm a scientist, from past you predict the future. Okay? So at the same time, you have to take into statistically all the interactive things and look at the projections. I don't know how the things are coming up, but I challenge the number that 1,500 students will be added in next 6 years. And very nice, thank you very much for the good meeting we had on November 13th. Thank you, Lou. Good meeting, lot of good input from the public, and I hope you are heard the public. If we want to pass the referendum next year, to look at that, what the public is saying, and take them into consideration. These are multi-million-dollar projects, and these are going to impact our education for long term. So education as well as operational costs, okay, in long term. So estimated, I'm saying estimated, not actual cost we want on each project. It is good to have, Mr. Tague always has seen in the ad hoc committee, The ad hoc committee members asked Mr. Take, what is the estimated cost? And he gives numbers. That's fine. We are not going to hold anyone responsible for that numbers. At least if the public wants basic school, medium school, or a very high-level school, so at least we have a range of the costs, so the public next year will decide, at least give them a chance, so that where various options come, they have which options to look at, depending on that. So pros and cons also will be great. Dr. Alvish gave us a brief what way, if you remove the 9th grade, what will happen. I think it will be great, a written analysis, good analysis will be done on that. We'll appreciate that, because a lot of people are saying, don't move the 9th grade out, because 95% of the schools in the United States have 9th grade in the high school, so people are worried. So no doubt, what is the cost difference and all, if it comes out, it will be great. Okay, so thank you very much. So appreciate the ongoing ad hoc committee meetings. Thank you.
Anyone else from the public wishing to speak?
Doug Boy, 4 Tamarack Road. Before I get into my comments, I would ask that all members of the board please try to keep your microphone closer to your mouth. Older people like myself can't hear what you're saying at all, and I'm sure your words of wisdom would be appreciated by all. Okay, my questions regard some of the policies that are being examined tonight. Policy 9160, which deals with public attendance at events. As a member of our senior citizens, I would suggest that the board consider allowing anyone 60 years or older to attend any school events without any admission charge. Your policy states that it can be free or reduced, but considering that all of our senior citizens are paying taxes to the school system, this would be a very small token of appreciation if they decide to come to a concert, a play, a musical, or a sporting event. I'm sure they would appreciate it. I know I would. So please take that in consideration before you finalize that policy. My second comment regards the homework policy, Regulation 2330. I was somewhat troubled, and I think I was even troubled by this when I'd seen it in the past, but I decided to bring it up this time. Your policy requires that homework be evaluated. As a former teacher, I'm quite troubled by that. If I'm a high school teacher of mathematics, I could easily have, in the course of one day, I could easily have 75 students. Now, if I gave them homework, and certainly homework would be given in something like mathematics, science, physics, chemistry, foreign languages. Daily homework is almost necessary if those students are to master those subjects. And if I, as a teacher, am required to evaluate that homework, as this regulation requires, I don't think I would be assigning homework. And I think, therefore, I would be doing a great disservice to my students. Homework is practice in many of those courses. It gives the student a chance to see if they understood. Now, I do agree that that homework needs to be discussed the following day, but to be evaluated to me means it has to be collected, it has to be reviewed by the teacher, and then the regulation says it must be promptly done. Okay? I just feel that the wording of that regulation is somewhat misleading, because I see from the superintendent's head that that's not what they intend. It also indicates that it should be timely evaluated. I looked at your other policies on testing, and there's a plethora of policies in there when you do a search for testing, because teachers give tests from time to time. I could not find any policy that dealt with the necessity of teachers having to return those tests in a timely fashion. That would also apply to compositions that students have to submit. I know I've heard from my grandchildren, 4 of them have either attended or are attending the Monroe school system, They have often complained about doing a composition, and then 2 months later, they still haven't gotten any feedback on that composition. I think that is a tragedy. I have also heard from my grandchildren that when they take a test, yes, they may get the grade, but they do not see that test sometimes for weeks, and then when they do see it, they're not allowed to keep it. I do not think those practices are in the best interest of our students. Students need to see their mistakes. They need to be able to take it home and have time, not simply have a few minutes in class, give that test, the teacher gives the test out, and then recollects it again. That is not good education. So I could not find any policy that deals with the prompt returning of test results, and I really decry those teachers who do not permit their students to keep their test.
Thank
If they're
you,
doing
Mr.
it because
Foy.
they
Your
simply
time
want to
is-
use
your
the
time
test
is up.
again, then they're being lazy. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else from the public wishing to speak to the agenda?
Good evening, Ram Rangnath, 6 Owens Drive. Just one, before I ask a couple of questions, just want to mention about this Seva Diwali drive that took place over the last few weeks, organized by the nonprofits and many members of the community. It was a very successful drive where we were collecting food and other items for the Monroe Pantry. We had 100+ students from our schools involved in that and collected about 6,000 plus pounds of food that was donated to the pantry. I think it's about 6 months plus supply for them. So it was a great success, great engagement by the community, and importantly, the students. So just want to make sure the BOE is aware of that. Second item is, again, thanks to Lou and others, right, for organizing the presentation on November 13th. Right, I guess the members of the public was happy to have the opportunity to give the feedback, but also you could hear some disappointment in what we saw, the progress, and particularly the information that was shared, particularly quantification from a financial perspective, what each of those options are going to cost. And the goal of the community is to partner with the BOE and the administration so that we can be expedient, make the right choices, and together work to have a successful referendum, right? So we're hoping that that feedback that was provided, people wrote down on the pages, that will be taken, and then in partnership with the Board of Education, we can move pretty promptly on that, right? And make sure the concerns are quickly evaluated. Concern also we heard is not sure if March, even by March, the referendum is going to be ready or whatever the action steps. Again, we are losing a lot of time, and let's move fast. The other piece also I think that was missing, and I'm sure it's all in all your minds, is what we're going to do over the next year, right? We talked about 4 trailers being added next year to the high school, Oak Tree Library being modified so that 2 classrooms can be made. So there are a lot of things, expenses, actions happening. Again, that's where if you can start thinking about modular expansion while we decide about the referendum and so on, maybe we can even move certain things. For the high school, we can maybe do a modular expansion, accommodate, 10 classrooms, 20 classrooms by the next summer, So let's think about it, right? Let's think about cost avoidance so that we avoid investing in trailers, and, it's a expense that hits the operating budget and there's no return on that. So I think let's think about that. What do we need to do for the next year to these longer term objectives, whether it's 1,500 or 400 unhoused students? So, just as member of the public, just asking for a sense of urgency, and let's work together to quickly address this, right? And make sure our school system flourishes and our ranks continue to go up. And again, let's keep a very strong dialogue with the public. Our goal is to make sure that we can partner and take the right decisions. But again, information is key, and that feedback loop is key. So strongly request for that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else from the public? Okay, seeing no one, we will close the public forum, and we will go to the Assistant Superintendent's report. Dr. Lehman?
So last month I spoke about our partnership with Middlesex County College. So I'm going to expand a little bit on a partnership that hopefully we can develop in the coming year. As we know, our curriculum documents are living documents. We have the ability to revise them, tweak them, to address the needs of our learners as a result of educational topics, strengthen them by increasing their inclusiveness, and broaden their diversity. I recently had the honor of attending a presentation by Dr. Felicia McGinty. She's the Executive Vice Chancellor for Administration and Planning at Rutgers University. She and her team presented to the Middlesex County Curriculum Council on Paul Robeson. Paul Robeson was born in Princeton, New Jersey in the late 1800s. He attended Rutgers University. He was an activist, a scholar athlete, a writer, an actor, and a larger-than-life figure. Rutgers is celebrating the 100th anniversary of his graduation. So he graduated in 1919. They opened a plaza this year honoring him, and his contributions, as well as other events, took place and they're planned throughout the rest of this year. I bring up this as Rutgers has extended their resources and opportunities to the districts in the county, whether it's to develop curricular resources supporting our work in diversity and inclusivism, or visit to campus for our students to meet with staff there to learn about not just Paul Robeson, but his influence and contributions during his life. Bottom line is Rutgers has offered support. I'll work with Ms. Castelletto, although she's retiring, and whoever her replacement is, and we'll reach out and we'll kind of garner that and kind of embrace that partnership that they've offered. If we can get students to participate in some of the activism days they have up there, Voorhees Mall, which is their outside courtyard, they have regular events there, and if we can get some students, appropriately aged students, that it would make sense to bring them up there and be a part of that process, we'd love to have them come to the district. But we're going to definitely leverage that opportunity, and this meeting was on Thursday, and we'll get the wheels rolling and kind of move forward with that. So,
Thank you. Are there any questions for Dr. Lehman? Okay, seeing none, we will go to the superintendent's report. Dr. Alvick?
Okay, so this week we are celebrating American Education Week in all of our schools. So every school has different activities happening each day of the week. Parents have been invited into all of our schools. I know that some of the parents have been involved in some makerspace activities in the schools. They've been observing classrooms. Lots of fun activities happening to celebrate all of our schools this week. On Monday evening, this past Monday, we held our second whole child parent evening. We had over 100 parents attend, and we've been receiving great feedback. Our keynote speaker this year was Miss Irene Barada. She's one of our district psychologists, and she talked to parents about how they can support their children at home with regard to social emotional learning. Parents were then able to choose 3 out of 14 workshops that they could attend on some of the topics were mental health and adolescence, benefits of mindfulness and meditation, explained through science, movement, building resiliency, content, curriculum, and concerns, mindfulness fundamentals, study habits, and mental health and adolescence. We actually sent out a survey to all of the parents who had signed up to come to ask them for feedback, and so far we're getting a lot of positive feedback. Many of the parents are saying it was great, they wanted to attend all the sessions. They didn't want to just limit it to the 3 that they, based on time, that they could attend. This morning, I was invited to visit our middle school civics class. Some of our middle school civics students you've been seeing at some of our committee meetings and some of our board meetings, some of the township meetings. They have an ongoing project where they're attending and learning more about the local government. So that's why we've been seeing a lot of students in our meetings. But some of them attended last week's ad hoc committee meeting, so they asked me to come and talk to them this morning and share how did the ad hoc get started. So I was able to share with them what the ad hoc has been doing, and I kind of shared with them even the history of some of the ad hoc committees that we've had in the past on this topic. They asked some great questions and want to know how to get more involved. So I told them I would keep them in the loop on upcoming meetings, how they can attend the ad hoc meeting, but they can't speak at an ad hoc meeting. But I told them that I would keep them up to date on that. In working with New Jersey School Boards Association, we have begun the process for the strategic action planning. Remember, that's one of our district goals for this year. I will be sending out information about 3 community outreach evenings that will be starting in January. We invite any community member to attend one or all of the evenings, whatever you have available. The current dates are, and I will post this on the website, and I will send out many flyers about this to invite you to come. January 14th, February 24th, and March 23rd. We also have snow dates planned, which I will also post on the website. But it will be sent out because we really want as many people as possible to join us to be part of the planning for our district's future with regards to everything we're doing here. As was mentioned already, the Siwa Diwali held their concluding activity on November 9th, and they invited me to attend, and it was a wonderful, wonderful ceremony where over 100 of our students in our schools shared their experience that they were going to give back to the community. So as part of their Diwali celebration, they went around and collected food from our community and donated, as was mentioned, over 6,000 pounds of food to our food bank. Our food bank said that that's enough for 6 months, to feed our community for 6 months, which is wonderful. So I was invited to attend. I was invited to thank the students, and I got to hand out certificates. Many of the students talked about their experience and what it meant to them, and how it's made a difference in their life, and they want to continue to do this. This was actually the second year they've done this, and they're planning to continue it. So it was wonderful to be there. I also want, going to our agenda, I want to commend our People Personnel Services Department because if we look at our number of out-of-district placement students, it's a very low number compared to our number of students that we have in the district and the fact that we continue to grow. And it really is because of the programs that our high school students talked about today and our programs that are in all of our schools to support our students with special needs at all of our schools. So we try to keep our students at home in our home schools where they're with their community members in their schools rather than send them out as much as we can. Also on our agenda this evening, you'll see under personnel there will be 2 administrative recommendations, one for our high school principal position and one for the Woodland Mill Lake Elementary assistant principal position. So with that, it's recommended that the board approve attached personnel items A through AS.
So moved.
Mr. Polari, and second by Mr. Tufano. Any comments or questions for Dr. Aldick? Ms. Arminio?
I just have a comment. I know in the past, and I don't know if you can hear me, Mr. Poi, got me? Okay. I know we have talked about being concerned about some of our resignations, and we don't want good people to leave our community. So I just want to point out that sometimes when you're reading through the resignations, take a look farther into the agenda, because sometimes people resign from one position and then they just take another position in the school district. So we're really not losing them to another district. What they're doing is either moving up or being transferred into another position. So sometimes it may seem somebody is resigning, but it's only a position, and we are keeping them. They're staying within our home district. So I just wanted to point that out.
Okay, thank you. Any
you.
other comments or questions? Okay, seeing none, we will have a roll call.
Mr. Tufano?
Yes.
Mr. Rutsky?
Yes.
Mrs. Lang?
Yes.
Mr. Pelori?
Yes.
Mr. Ryback?
Yes.
Mrs. Siegel?
Yes.
Mrs. DeMayo?
Yes.
Mr. Master?
Yes.
Mrs. Arminio?
Yes for everything, abstain on AO and AP.
So noted. Thank you. Mrs. Colapanowicz?
Yes,
Madam Board President, personnel action items A through AS as passed.
thank you.
So I would just like to congratulate Dr. Kevin Higgins, our new principal at the high school. And I would also like to congratulate Mr. Billy Jackito, who is the new assistant principal at Mill Lake and Woodland.
And on behalf of the board, I'd also like to extend our congratulations to both of you. I know you will be a welcome addition at the high school and at the elementary school, yes. And I also would like to thank Mr. Madriperla for stepping up and taking care of the high school for the past year and a half. There has not been a misstep there at all, and we appreciate everything that you have done to keep us going and everything that you've done, so thank you.
And Madam Board President, I'd like to recommend that items A through P, board actions, items A through P be approved.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Ryback, Mr. Masters, comments or questions for Dr. Albeck? Mr. Pelori?
Madam President, a couple of items. In light of the testimony that was given by Mr. Doug Poy, the item number F, does that relate to the homework that he was referring to?
Yes, but the change in this homework regulation, so to answer Mr. Poy's comment from earlier, we do not require teachers, and this regulation was actually written by teachers. So the regulation is written by teachers. We had a homework committee that met for several months. We had teachers from all levels on the committee and administrators. We also sent surveys out to parents to get information before we wrote the policy and the regulation for homework. The teachers are not required to grade every assignment. They are required to review it. So whether they review it as a class when the students come into the classroom, but they are not required to grade every assignment. So that kind of answers his question. The reason that this regulation is on the agenda was because the middle school teachers went to their building administration and said the language in their section about the homework breaks was confusing, and they wanted to correct it. So that's the reason that it's up for reaffirmation. The wording of the homework said, under homework breaks, any long-term assignment due after the breaks shall either be assigned 3 periods prior to the break and be due a minimum. It should have been either or and. They chose and. So that was the reason it's up for affirmation. It was just a typo, really.
Thank you. On item L, the name itself is concerning Roadkill Enterprises Incorporated. Being a safety buff in transportation, I don't know what Roadkill Enterprise Incorporated represents, and would like to learn a little bit more before I vote on it.
It's actually an author. I think you had more.
I wasn't the only
Dr.
one that
Lehman.
questioned that.
Yeah.
So the middle school is hosting an author visit, and this is the name of the company of the author. It's his LLC or his enterprise or something like that. So I asked for the date, so I will be attending, and I will ask him. There must be a story behind naming your company Roadkill Enterprises, so we'll figure it out. But it's really the name on the check when we write the check to pay him.
Understood. Thank you.
Mr. Ryback?
I'm not sure. I'd like to, based on what Mr. Poy said, which I thought was an excellent suggestion, amend policy 9160 to allow senior citizens age 60 and above to attend all public attendance and school events for no cost. Does that have to go back to policy, or could we do that right here?
I think it has to go back to policy.
Yeah, I think we need to send that back to the
I would
policy
like to
committee,
make
but
that
I think.
recommendation that we go back to policy to get that done.
I second if you want, if you need.
Sure.
I think we have to make a motion to
I'll make a
remove
motion.
that policy
I'll make a
from,
motion to move policy 9160 back to policy committee for consideration to allow citizens ages 60 and above free admittance to school events.
I'll second it.
okay? Is there any comments or questions?
Yeah, the question is, do we need 2 hearings on this too before it
Yes.
becomes?
I believe if it's a new policy, we would have to have 2 hearings.
So what's the time frame we're looking at?
Yeah,
January.
it would approved in January.
Fair enough.
Okay?
And
Can
just a
Ms.
clarification,
Masters?
so
Are you
current,
going to be 60?
yeah,
So,
just currently how it's worded, it does say without charge on a free or reduced. So are we hung up on the or?
Yeah.
We
For-
could just right now say everybody over 60 is free and we ignore the or reduced and not have to go back to policy. There's a big or statement in there, an or, a word.
So,
Do we need a legal opinion?
Residents of the district 60 years of age or older shall be admitted without charge to all school events on a free or reduced basis.
Yeah. It does need to go back to the policy committee,
Okay.
nice try, Lola.
Hey,
better be safe than
I
sorry.
watched Law and
right?
Order too, I know.
Okay, so do we need a roll call, or can we just take a voice?
Roll call.
Okay, roll call.
No, wait, 1 second, because I just looked at my notes. We had taken out the reduced basis, but it didn't get taken out on the final copy that we're voting on. So that's why it reads, age older shall be admitted without charge to all school events, and that free and reduced basis was taken out. Because when you say that older shall be admitted without charge.
I have that copy with me.
That's what I have. So that's the one that we're supposed to be.
Well, do we have to have an age? You said older. I mean, should we
It says residents of the district 60 years of age of older shall be admitted without charge to all school events. And then we had taken out the other words after that.
I don't have those.
So we'll go back to
but-
the policy
Yeah.
committee anyway, just to make sure, and.
And then if it doesn't need to be changed, if it's just the
We'll
update,
just-
then we'll be able to do a second read in December.
Do we need a vote on that motion?
Yes, yes.
So can I ask how that happens? Because I know it frequently happens that something is agreed to in policy as a change, and then when it comes to us, I mean, and I believe that happened, and they agreed on it, but I think we have to be a little clear, because if it's showing up in the public, we can't say, oh, yeah, we meant something else. So it really has to be, when you do a policy change, really has to be,
Right, and that's
made
why
sure
the
it's
chair of
right.
the policy committee, it should be reviewing these when it's on the agenda, because you or somebody else who's not on the policy committee
Right.
won't know that there's a change.
Right. It's a lot, I mean, having said that, and I agree with you, there's a lot of policies this year that have been gone through. I can't imagine the volume of reading that has to go on. But when the decisions are made at the committee meeting, they should be highlighted, and it should definitely be caught, so.
Okay, so we're just going to vote on removing that from the agenda
Right.
at this point. Then we'll vote on the board action items. Okay? So it's to remove,
To rescind the approval of 9160 and send it back to policy.
right.
Mrs. DeMayo.
Yes.
Mrs. Siegel.
Yes.
Mr. Tefano.
Yes.
Mr. Rutsky.
Yes.
Mrs. Arminio.
Yes.
Mr. Ryback.
Yes.
Mr. Pelori.
Yes.
Mrs. Lang.
Yes.
Mr. Masters.
Yes.
And Mrs. Koloponowicz.
Yes.
Madam Board President, policy 9160 has been rescinded and will be sent back to policy.
So are there any more questions on the board action items? Okay, seeing none, we will have a roll call on all the board action items minus policy 9160.
Yes. Need a motion and a second.
So moved.
I thought we did that already.
We did. Mr. Ryback and Mr. Masters.
Because we had to do that in order to get to the conversation.
You are correct.
Okay, so,
Mrs. DeMayo.
Yes.
Mr. Masters.
Yes.
Mr. Pelori.
Yes.
Mr. Tefano.
Yes.
Mr. Rutsky.
Yes.
Mr. Ryback.
Yes.
Mrs. Lang.
Yes.
Mrs. Arminio.
Yes.
Mrs. Siegel.
Yes.
And Mrs. Koloponowicz.
yes.
Board action items A through P has passed.
Okay, that concludes my report.
Okay, then we will go to the business administrator's report, Mr. Gorski.
Thank you. As previously discussed, we're going to give a little update on the budget process at every business administrator's report. And it was noted in the committee reports that the defense rounds with the principals and directors have been scheduled and commenced. I want to commend Dr. Alvick and Dr. Lehman for pre-meeting with a lot of the elementary schools, lower and upper, because the products that were delivered to the business office central office, I should say, required very few revisions and were in line with the board philosophy directive and board and district goals. They're very well done. Some required revisions, we expect those in the next couple days.
Could you speak? Move it closer. I think he's got it.
And all of the budget efficiency worksheets have been sent to the county office. We're waiting for the county office to confirm our appointment date where Dr. Alvick and I and Mrs. Allen will visit the county office to present our budget efficiency worksheets, which extract a lot of information from the Taxpayer Guide to Educational Spending and compare it with districts in our category, which is K-12 over 3,500 students. Anybody from the public who is unfamiliar with the Taxpayer Guide to Educational Spending, I know this was a favorite of Mr. Poy years ago, It is a resource from the state of New Jersey that provides metrics on like-kind districts and provides a plethora of financial information on school districts. Information such as spending per pupil, administrative cost per pupil, transportation efficiency for the routes. All of that can be determined from the Taxpayer Guide to Educational Spending. We're very proud of the results and encourage everybody to take a look at it. It's a great resource. We have not decided on any cuts yet, as we don't know the first blush picture of what the budget's going to look like yet. But we will provide an update on that soon. The state reports that were mentioned before, the ASSA application for state school aid and DRTRS report of transported resident students, both have a lot to do with the budget. ASSA used to be used to determine how much state aid a district gets depending on how many students are counted in the enrollment report on October 15th, how many special ed students are classified within that population. The state got away from that model, but it seems like they're heading back towards it now. So these reports are audited 100%, and we're proud of the accuracy. DRTRS also goes directly to state funding because a district efficiency rating is calculated from the DRTRS, and Monroe has the most efficiently run transportation fleet in the county and among the highest in the state of New Jersey, and that makes us eligible for the maximum transportation aid award, which we receive every year. So that's a little bit of information about the budget, and now I'll get to my report. There is a noteworthy item on my report, I believe it's letter I. And for full disclosure, this is the property that was discussed known as the golf driving range on Applegarth Road. This has been a 3-year process that the board has been engaged in. They passed a resolution to go through some work with the Department of Education, Division of Facilities, land acquisition requirements. I attest that all of those requirements have been met. This property is suitable to be resolved, to be accepted by the Board of Education, and the deed transferred this evening. Mr. Masters and the ad hoc committee are working hard to determine the what part of this next project. This property is an integral part of the design of accommodating 3,000 unhoused students in the next 5 years in determining the where. And I want to point that out to the public and to the board. This is a monumental night for the district with this item being voted on. So, Madam Board President and members of the Monroe Township Board of Education, it is recommended that board action items A through J be approved by consent roll call.
So moved.
Mr. Ryback?
Second.
Second by Mr. Mayo. Any comments or questions for Mr. Gorski?
Madam President, on the item I that we just discussed, a couple of quick questions. Has the board reviewed the contract of the settlement of the property, just to make sure that we're not taking on any liability with the property? That's number one. And also, do we have an idea in terms of the net revenues? Because I'm assuming that the current tenant is paying some sort of fee for occupying the property right now. So is that going to be gaining to the board district, or is it a loss to the board district? I'm not looking for exact numbers, just an overview.
Yeah, good question. The board attorney, Mary Smith, has been an integral part of this process, and all of the liabilities associated with this property have been reviewed. There are none that are being inherited by the Board of Education. That's part of all of these land acquisition requirements and checklists that has to be presented to the Department of Education and review all of that. We had a title search performed. We have a clean title on the property to be transferred. And then the next part has to do with revenues. The Board of Education is not going to receive any revenues directly from this property, but the agreement with the township and the lessors of the golf driving range assures that the real estate taxes on the property, which if I recall correctly are about $30,000 a year, will continue to be paid until the operations are suspended when the Board of Education needs them to begin construction of the school. So the township is benefiting with the payment and the continuance of the real estate taxes.
Who's paying that, $30,000?
The owners of the golf driving range to the township of Monroe.
Ms. Arminio?
Yes, I understood that the lease, when we first started this discussion, that the lease for the people leasing the driving range would be over in 2019. Has that been renewed indefinitely, or is there an end date on that?
It has not been renewed. The Board of Education has a right to cancel the lease. It is in its final year. I don't remember the exact month that it concludes, but it's in its final year of operations. The lessors have indicated that. And again, the Board of Education, as soon as we're ready to begin work on the property, will request that the operation cease. There's details about that in the agreement.
So I understood, and if my memory doesn't fail me, that it was until 2019, which will be over in a month. So my question is, are they going to continue either without a lease, or it doesn't really impact us? Will they still be there until we need the, and the reason for that is for two reasons. One, I don't want to kick somebody out if they still have a viable business and we're not ready to take on the property, and to maintain the tax revenue for the, it's not going to benefit the district, but it will benefit us as a community. Yeah. So my thought is, is that still a viable business after the 2019?
I believe it is. It will continue for a short period. That lease and that agreement is between the lessor of the golf driving range and the township, but the Board of Ed has a right to have it once we need it. So, and then in the meantime, they're paying taxes, as I mentioned.
But the Board of Education cannot run a business.
That is
so once
correct.
It's our property, we cannot run the golf driving range business. And I believe that lease is over by the end of the year.
Right.
There is a big sign on their property thanking everybody for being part of their, their business for the last few years, and that they will no longer be in business.
Okay. And some other questions about taking the property from the township. Was there an environmental impact statement? Are we getting, so that's one question, that did the township do? And are we getting all of the documents that the township researched and everything, all of the documents for this property when they turn it over to us, like the appraisals, title, all of the documents that might have been? Because I know that, and again, the biggest one for me is the environmental impact statement that we usually get when we take property.
Yes, the answer is yes on both of those. Environmental impact statement and all of the paperwork and titles and permanent documents will come to the Board of Ed. There is a new requirement that golf courses have to go through additional environmental testing.
Right.
Although this isn't a golf course,
right?
It's a golf driving range. Mr. Take still recommended to the committee and the board that we go through and have these tests done, which we are done.
So that's sort of my point. I'm grateful for the township for transferring this to us at minimal cost, but now are we inheriting all the cost to do our own tests? Because then we're going to start incurring costs that really doesn't make it a $1 transfer.
For the record, it's not a $1 transfer. The Board of Education can't purchase land even at $1. That was one of the original terms that was modified.
So how are we, how is it
It's free
conveyed?
and clear coming to the Board of Ed, no payment. And what was your other comment?
My other question is, are we going to, now do we have to do testing once we get this property that's going to start incurring costs to the district?
The majority of the testing is done. There's still some requirements that will have to be submitted to the Department of Education once the project is defined and it moves forward.
So my thought is, do we have an estimate of what this is going to cost, our testing? For testing
Not at this
purposes?
point, but there's not a lot of testing
Madam
remaining, to
President,
my
if I may
understanding.
interject. Typically, when a government entity purchases a property, it's on the property owner to conduct and finish all the environmental studies associated with it. I believe that's the law in the state of New Jersey. So I don't think there should be anything that the Board of Education should be responsible for.
Well, what I think it says in appraisals, when an appraiser does it to determine the value under eminent domain, the appraiser makes it very, very clear that they are not appraising the property with any environmental or hazardous concerns. And there is a clause in there that says if it becomes of environmental or hazardous, that it is the responsibility of the seller. But then my question is the seller the landowner or the township or us? Like, there will be two removed. By the time we accept this property, it'll be two removed from the original owner. So, yes, I agree that it is the seller's responsibility, but which seller are we talking about? And then if we begin to incur certain unanticipated costs, again, it's coming out, if it comes out of the township, it's still coming out of our pocket as taxpayers, but it should not come out of instructional, education instructional funds. That's really my concern.
Yeah, understood. The Board of Education has already conducted our tests, submitted them to the DOE, and all are satisfied.
Okay, and they'll be available to the public as well?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Mayo?
But don't we have to do those tests when we build a new school regardless of where it is?
That's a good point.
So
The
it's
answer
not,
is
those
yes.
tests are required regardless of whether the land was obtained by eminent domain or purchased from someone else or given to us by someone else, right?
That is correct.
Okay.
Mr. Tofano?
So the taxes on that property, you said were $30,000 a year. And right now, the golf course is absorbing that cost. So once the golf course leaves, we're gonna be on the hook for that 30 grand a year.
It's a good observation, but the Board of Ed is exempt, so the taxes will be suspended once we transfer it to our ownership.
Thank you.
So I have a different question on letter I. Peter earlier mentioned the Monroe Commons, that we lease space in Monroe Commons. Is there any chance that we could use any of the existing buildings on the golf course property until we build on the property to move the office out of Monroe Commons onto the driving range, into any of those buildings?
I don't believe that's been studied.
That's good.
Just a
We
thought.
haven't looked at that.
I know we're always looking for space, and I know there's some structures on the property.
Yeah.
Just an idea.
It's
It's just one structure?
It's very small. It's the office. It's very small. I don't think.
I thought there was a house also on the corner.
Oh, no, that's a different property.
Oh, my
No,
my
no,
apologies.
I don't think that would work.
So it's the office of the driving range?
Yeah, it's
It's
very
right.
small. It's small.
We could put a desk in there.
Your desk.
Yeah, I was gonna say, maybe I'll relocate there.
Yeah.
And I'll telecommute into the meeting.
Okay. Any other questions for Mr. Gorski? Seeing none, we'll have a roll call.
Mrs. DeMayo.
Yes.
Mr. Ryback.
Yes.
Mrs. Arminio.
Yes.
Mrs. Lang.
Yes.
Mrs. Siegel.
Yes.
Mr. Masters.
Yes.
Mr. Rutsky.
Yes.
Mr. Peluri.
Yes.
Mr. Tofano.
Yes.
Mrs. Koloponowicz.
Yes.
Madam Board President, Board action items A through J has passed unanimously. Thank you. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Gorski. I will go to the board president's report, and I just want to talk a little bit about the ad hoc committee and thank everyone who came out last week. There was a lot of good questions, there was a lot of good comments, there was a lot of good conversation, and I know there was a lot of concern about the potential of moving the 9th grade out of the high school, which has not been even given to the Board of Education yet as an option. But I think no one on this Board of Education would do anything to compromise the education of any of our students. No administrator in this district would recommend a referendum to the board that would compromise the education of our students. And for anyone to say that or to believe that kind of boggles my mind. The goal of our district is to raise the bar for all of our students, not lower it. We want our students to get the best into the best colleges possible. We want all of our students to continue to have all the opportunities they currently enjoy, including clubs, sports, band, etc. Removing the 9th grade out of the high school would not affect the mandated classes that freshmen need to take. It could affect the selection of elective classes, but that has always been an issue. Currently, not all of our students, including freshmen, get all the elective courses they would like to take because they get filled up. This is not something new, but it goes back to the time when my kids were students at the high school. They also had to have when they were asked to select elective classes, they needed to rank them according to preference. A student might not always get into the first or even the second choice, but sometimes they have to go on to the third choice, as some of these elective classes are very popular with many of the high school students. This has gone on in the past, it goes on currently, and probably will continue in the future, as there are only a certain amount of students that can be enrolled in elective classes. The ad hoc committee was tasked to come up with a plan for a referendum to put the unhoused students in an environment that the community could get behind. It was not tasked with costing out all the plans. To cost out every plan would cost a lot of money, and if changes are made, you go back, and you have to continue to do that over and over again. Our residents in the adult communities are telling us that they cannot support a referendum that will significantly raise their taxes. We heard that loud and clear at every referendum presentation we went to in the Skinner communities. We as a board have to balance the needs of our students with the needs of those who pay for the education of our students, and at this point, that's the taxpayers. When the recommendations come back from the ad hoc committee, they will need to go to the architects to come up with schematics, be approved by the Department of Education, and then cost it out before something can be recommended to the Board of Education in the form of a referendum. So it's at that time, when we get whatever recommendations that come from the ad hoc committee, that the board will go and through the process that they need to go through in order to get the costs, so that we can fairly recommend a referendum to the public that everyone in the public hopefully will support. And that is the board president's report. So at this time, we'll go to other Board of Education business. Mr. Tefano?
I'd like to, I believe that some congratulations are in order, so I'd like to mention a couple of things. First, I'd like to congratulate the Monroe Township High School freshman team. They are the first team to ever go undefeated in Monroe history, first freshman team to ever,
football?
Yeah, I was going to say
football, I'm sorry.
Football.
They're the first freshman football team to ever go undefeated in Monroe.
So that means we have a lot to look forward to in the next few years. Yes.
I hope. I'd also like to congratulate the 102 students in this school district that are going to Disney to compete in the nationals. These girls worked very hard this year. They won regionals, they won states, and now hopefully they'll come home with the national title as well. Much praise to their coaches who work so hard to make them the best on and off the mat. Always teach them that to be, spectacular cheerleaders and spectacular human beings. Mary Lang, her daughter Kelly Lang, all their staff. I would like to personally thank them for all their hard work. They really are very special people that put that program together in the rec center. I'd also like to thank and wish the best of luck to 5 students, 5 athletes that signed their national letter of intent this year. That would be Mason Grossman, Josh Estavillo, Brian Skirby, Sarah Culpa, and Emma Bodmer. This is a wonderful thing. I'm very proud to that they are part of our district, and they're spectacular for colleges, yes, for sports teams and colleges, yeah. And that's all I got.
Oh, thank you for bringing all that up. Thank you. Anyone else? Mr. Pelori?
Madam President, I just want to, first of all, wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving, especially my colleagues on the board for giving the time that they do, and also the public for participating in the township, especially in the Board of Education. My hope is that sooner than later, the ad hoc committee is going to come up with a matrix that shows exactly what the plan is going to be, and when each of the elements of the plan needs to be implemented, and come up with the cost, and I'll be more than happy to assist if should that be needed. but I think the time is of essence in terms of addressing some of the needs in our district. The second point I want to make is last Friday, there was a meeting at the College of New Jersey about the safety, roadway safety, with a lot of our seniors beginning to drive. The vision for 2020 is 0 fatalities. Actually, the road fatalities, especially texting while driving, have seen a significant increase. So for the first time, I actually met 2 commissioners in one meeting. The Commissioner Diane Scicchetti, who was the Commissioner of New Jersey Department of Transportation, was there, along with Dr. Replett. And he also talked about how he wants to bring it back to the schools to make sure that folks are safe. So I thought it was prudent just to bring it up. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Rutsky?
Thank you. If I may just sort of shine a light on a Monroe student, class of 2014, Mikey Nichols, and a teacher, Mr. Rooney, ran a New York City Marathon in under 4 hours.
With a pulled hamstring.
With a pulled hamstring?
Yes.
Wow. I think that happened along the way.
Mile 24.
Wow. So they completed it under 4 hours. It was amazing. They raised almost $45,000 for the Reeve Foundation, which in itself raised over $400,000. So
terrific.
I just wanted to give a shout out to them.
Yes, very good.
Just to let both Mr. Tufano and Mr. Rutsky know, in December, we're doing student and staff recognition, and we are inviting the freshman football team. We are inviting Mr. Rooney and Mikey Nichols.
Awesome. Thank you.
Mr. Mayo?
I'd just like to say congratulations to Dr. Higgins for being appointed principal of the middle school, high school. I think he's going to do a fabulous job, and I'd like to congratulate Mr. Jackito for being appointed for assistant principal for Woodland and Mill Lake schools.
Thank you. Mrs. Siegel?
So I'm just going to ditto Jill with congratulations to Dr. Higgins and Mr. Jackito. And I also want to thank the whole child committee. I did have an opportunity to go to the parent night on Monday, and it was wonderful. There was sessions for every age group of parents. And I was hesitant to go because I have a 12th grader and a high schooler, but the sessions that I went to were geared towards high school parents, and there were some great reference tools that we walked away with. There was one sheet that I think I shared with Dr. Alvik, the study habits, which should go to every student in the school district, and I know I left a copy for each of my kids for breakfast, and I had them read it, because it was great information that they will use even in college and beyond. So thank you to them.
Thank you. Mr. Masters?
Go ahead.
Okay. Sorry. Again, I wanted to thank you also. I was at the whole child parent night. I wanted to thank you for the invite, and I wanted to point out 2 of the sessions. Again, the Fostering the Healthy Study Habits. I had a really good discussion about my high schooler, which again, I wasn't going for high school level. I think that was Edgar Estevez, so I wanted to make sure I called him out. And the transition from high school to post-secondary options, I had an excellent conversation with Erica Friedman, especially about bringing into some IEP discussion into it, which was excellent. She was very knowledgeable, and I enjoyed it very much. One more thing, hold on. I also wanted to just shed some light on, we had, I guess, 2 of our band students that were invited to play in the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. Caitlin Bizaki playing the flute, and Dominic Diedzik playing the tenor sax. That's one of them. I know you're going to talk about it in December. I thought I would just jump on your thunder there. But yes, I think they deserve a lot of appreciation for that.
And they're marching with what band?
It's the Macy's. There's a general band that they put them all into.
They auditioned for and were accepted.
So will they be wearing Monroe clothes so we would know them when we?
No, I think they have to wear their own uniform, but they will be there. Yeah.
Well, we could watch them.
Yep.
Yes, that's
Yes.
an honor. We
should
have
clap
some
for them,
great
too. We
students
clap
in our district. Getting some really great accolades for our kids. Mr. Ryback.
I know we've been speaking about the importance and how much we want to bring our students to the community and our community to our students as much as possible. I'm going to ask Ms. Siegel to highlight some of this. I know the middle school percussion group is going to Rossmore in December. High school? Would you speak to that? Because I think that's terrific.
Yeah, so under the direction of Mr. Snyder and I believe Mr. Griffin, the high school percussion ensemble, along with a couple of the middle school ensemble kids, are going to the Rossmore to play at their holiday extravaganza, is what I believe it is, on, I believe December 5th it is, Thursday night. So they had done this last year, and the seniors loved it, enjoyed it, so they wanted the kids to come back again this year. So the students are going back again to play for them. So it should be a great night. I'm looking forward to it. It should be really nice. And I know walking around the town this year and going to different events at Rossmore, the seniors really did love it, and they're looking forward to it. So looking forward to the nice night.
Mr. Mayo?
So I got an email. Dr. Alvick, we're having a presentation by a Dr. Michael Fallon coming up.
You telling or
Where?
asking?
When?
I don't know.
From where? From
What do
where?
you mean, where did
where?
you get the email from?
I think the career counseling.
Oh, okay.
It was a series of events that they're presenting.
Okay.
He had been here years ago, and his presentation is fantastic. So I would highly recommend any parents to come out and see him. Really good.
The career counseling services at the high school
I
does
think
a
it's
lot of
called
activities.
What You Don't Know or What I Don't Know.
Yeah, they do a lot of activities
It
and
really
send out
is
a
a
lot
good,
of
he really did a phenomenal presentation.
Anyone else?
Saturday morning, I believe there is a delegate assembly in Mercer Community College. Is anybody attending from the board?
Patty usually goes.
Patty's the delegate.
I'll decide Saturday morning.
I signed up, just want to let you know. Yeah.
Okay. Any other comments about board business? Okay, before we go to the public forum, I'd just like to thank the board tonight for this really great conversation that we've had about everything and a lot about education and our students. So there's a lot going on in our district. There's a lot of good things happening, a lot of great programs, and it's because of what we all do here. And I'd just like to thank you for the conversation, because I think it was a really good, wonderful conversation this evening.
I agree.
So at this time, we'll open up the floor to the public again for public forum. Anyone from the public wishing to speak, please come to the microphone, state your name and address for the record, and we would adhere to all of our previous notes.
Good evening, Chrissy Skirby, 21 Preakness Drive. I just wanted to give my comments about the ad hoc committee. I did attend, and I was rather disappointed that a lot of questions that the public was raising, there were no answers to. And I think when you open up a meeting to say this is for the public to come in and you're asking our opinions on proposals, yet a lot of the information that we would need to make a decision is absent, it's very hard and disheartening to be a part of that. The biggest thing that we've heard through the referendums was, like you said, people don't want their taxes increasing. Well, to bring the public in and have absolutely no financials associated with any proposals, it's putting the cart before the horse. How could I tell you how I feel on this proposal rather than that proposal without knowing how much it's going to cost? The cost is a big part of it. And the second part, there was an overwhelming concern from parents and community members there about taking the 9th grade out. And it was stated that there's been no work done to see what the impact would be. So to sit here and say, Madam President, your statement was almost very defensive to the public raising questions that night. We don't know what the impact would be. Clearly there would be some type of impact, and the parents and the residents should know what that is before we move forward with that. So, you invite us out and ask us our opinion, and then you come back to a board meeting and you make a very defensive statement against the public that came. This whole process is very disappointing.
Prakash Parab, 33 Dana Drive. First of all, I would like to thank, my son is applying for many colleges. And the help, the counselors, the teachers, the administration, and the website. Important is the website, is excellent, okay? And plus, again, I tell the public also, the parents should play important role. Review what, it helps it's like parents, teachers, and the student goes hand in hand. And I think tomorrow there is some, for the parents, there is here I'm telling the public, parents should come, especially those who are in the 9th grade, 10th grade, because Novians, what college requirements are there. This is very important because the students entering into the 9th grade, I request that take them at least to one university and show them when the others tell what is expectation, the children understand more than the parents tell them, okay? So really congratulate and really appreciate and thank, the staff and the teachers for that. Second thing is, again, President, I tell you, cost and metrics. Please, the estimated cost for each proposal is very important. And I tell you, all our seniors here in the town, in 9-gated community, they are not poor. They are rich, and they should contribute that is the America is. We have to contribute for the education. There are low-income seniors. I know there are tax freezes for them who are earning gross income less than $85,000, whatever. The taxes are frozen for them. We have to educate them to apply for that and get their taxes freezes. But there are a lot of people have moved in our town who are senior. We are millionaires. So it is good. Let them come and see. Let them come free to what is happening in the schools, so let them visit for different programs. They will open up the wallets and donate the money to the school, okay? So that is my request, so nothing else to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public wishing to speak? Then at this time, I will close public forum, and we will go to the closed session resolution. Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Township of Monroe hereby moves to go into closed session in accordance with the Sunshine Law, Chapter 231 of the Public Laws of 1975, NJSA 10:4-6 through 10:4-21, to discuss the following subjects. Personnel matter. I believe the level 3 grievance has been removed from the harassment, intimidation, and bullying, attorney advice, feasibility study, litigation in pursuit of increased state aid. Following closed session, action may be taken. The discussion conducted in closed session can be disclosed to the public at such time as the need for confidentiality no longer exists. I need a motion and a second.
Second.
So moved by Mr. Ryback and Mr. Tefano. Ms. Arminio?
Yes, could you just have the record reflect that I believe that we still have a personnel item on the list? I think it could be more descriptive without giving any identification to anybody. So I don't know if it's a district personnel, if it's a student personnel. I mean, I know that I will always have to bring this up, unfortunately, that I think there could be a little bit more information as to what kind of personnel matter we're going to be discussing.
So noted. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Then at this time, we will move into closed session. Yeah, that's what I had, an hour with the other one, so 45 minutes. I have a feeling
So going back and forth.
Hey, at this time, the board will move back into public session, and I have a resolution to read. It is recommended that the Board of Education, 1, approve the previously submitted separation agreement and general release between the Monroe Township Board of Education and bus driver Susan Zelikovics. 2, approve a medical leave of absence for Ms. Zelikovics for the period from November 21st, 2019 through December 31st, 2019. And 3, accept Ms. Zelikovics' resignation effective at the close of business on December 31st, 2019. The board president, the business administrator, board secretary, and board counsel are hereby authorized and directed to take all necessary steps to to implement the aforesaid separation agreement and general release.
So moved.
Mr. Ryback, Mr. Tefano, comments or questions?
It's
okay.
Ms. Arminio.
Oh, it doesn't matter, it doesn't
Michelle
matter.
seconded
I'm
it.
sorry.
Peter talks at a high voice.
You sound the same.
Okay. Okay, catch her next time. Comments or questions? If not, roll call, Mr. Gorski.
Mrs. Lang.
Yes.
Mr. Masters.
Yes.
Mrs. DeMayo.
Yes.
Mrs. Arminio.
Yes.
Mrs. Siegel.
Yes.
Mr. Ryback.
Yes.
Mr. Rutsky.
Yes.
Mr. Pelori.
No.
So noted. Mr. Tefano.
Yes.
Mrs. Koloponowicz.
Yes.
Madam Board President, motion passes.
Thank you. Our next scheduled Board of Education meeting is December 18, 2019, 7 o'clock p.m. at the Monroe Township High School. Motion to adjourn.
No, wait. I'd like to say something.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I forgot to thank Mr. Todd Kerkis, of the owner of Tailored Living, for the donation of a closet to the Monroe Township Board of Education. That was very
Yes.
generous
Yes,
of
it
him.
was.
Thank you so much. We appreciate
The
that.
donation.
Yep.
Now I
Well
need a
done.
motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Mr. Rutsky, second by Mr. Tefano, all in favor? Opposed? Then the meeting is adjourned.